Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Today is March 4th, first day of the week. What a day guys, what a day. Very nice day today. We had one loser in the morning but we covered it into the winner, and I'll talk about all those trades and recaps and the teachings from today. There's a bunch of teachings. The best teaching today is that do not buy the dips blindly, wait for the reversals. Anyways, we'll talk all about that. Before I start, let's do a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my YouTube, my Twitter, my community. These are my trade recaps and my trade teachings from the trades I take or the trades I do not take, but I guide my traders in my community. We are a trading and educational community, not an alert service, and where we play repeatable setups day in, day out. We focus mostly on the day trades right now, but of course we will be focusing on swing and investment stocks as well. We have those as well going in our community. Anyways, every day 2 hours before the market open, my team is up early going through all the pre-market news, upgrades, downgrades, and analyst comments. We create what we call a game plan, right? So game plan, my news plays, Rips news plays. Right now what you see in front of you was the game plan for today. You see the watch list on the game plan was DEC, SPR, Coin, LI, Walmart, SE, SMCI, BA, Apple, Tesla, the main ones. And then we also keep eyes on any upgrades and downgrades. Not only that, my team also creates we create a levels for everyone. So the levels are basically the support and resistance pivots which you can trade along with using Ripster EMA Clouds. Like I said earlier, we only trade repeatable setups. We do not trade randomly. The setups we play repeat again and again and again and again. There's nothing random about that, and we do that day in, day out, every day, right? So and so those are the levels. Then we also have what we call as our day two setups. So we always also have our day two setups. These were the day two setups for today: AMD, AVGO, ZS, Dell, ESTC, and Tab DUOL. So anyways, once the market opens, I go on voice for first 2.5 hours, guiding my community through the market, the trend, what's market doing, what's the trend doing, which stocks are heavy, which are short, which are long. So we go through all that process and we try to find our trades, long or shorts. And what you see in front of you is the live screen that I have all day on for my community. And then on the left side, that's our community where we have the trading floor, we have the alert floor where I'm always updating and guiding everyone. Then we have all these screen shares, unusual flows, scanners, news bots, and bunch of other tools to help traders trade with conviction and trade with high probability. All right, so so we have the introductions in. So let's start with a recap for the day. Let's start with our first play. All right, the first play we're going to look at is Tesla. All right, guys. So how did we trade Tesla? So what was the plan? Let's just go back. Even before we look at the chart, the daily chart, the 1 hour, let's just go back on Tesla, look at the plan on Tesla for today. So the news on Tesla was Tesla China shipments plunged to lowest in more than a year. Very negative news. It was bearish under 200. So I said bearish under 250. Only long over the clouds. Do not long under that level. 200 is a big psychological level. I've been teaching that for years. Support pivot was 198.31. Resistance pivot was 280. Ideally, the 200 was big level, and if 198 breaks, my teachings and our system tells us that it's a confirmed short. So let's see what happened when the market opens. Before even I will look at that, let's look at the 1 hour chart. So what was 1 hour chart telling me? 1 hour chart was telling me it was in a nice range, box range, right around the 200 psychological level. So when you test the support few times, 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many times was support tested, right? 4 times or more. And once it breaks, that's always an explosive move. You see, that's always an explosive move. So you can extend that line. Even the downtrend line did not hold. So you see the 1 hour is bearish, the 10-minute is bearish, daily is also bearish because daily broke under the 512 clouds. So you can clearly see that the daily chart broke under the 512 clouds. So So what was the plan? So how did I guide my community? The first thing I told everyone this morning was, do not long Tesla, because I know everybody loves to long Tesla. It's a cult stock. Everybody thinks it's too cheap, but it's not. So as soon as market opened, I told everybody, do not long Tesla, because it's not only about making money. Of course, we will short it and make money, but it's also about preserving your money, avoiding any dip buys. The golden rule is you do not buy under the clouds. That's the golden rule, guys. Anybody who was buying Tesla today got bagged, and we did play the long, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But look at this fade from 198s or 199s, 200 psychological level, the levels I gave in the pre-market, all the way to $10 fade to 186, is more than $10 actually, $14 fade, right? So let's see my guidance. I said do not long, only scalp short under 200, and we flushed to 195. I said cover some on 195s, 195 target coming. Once that target was met, I said leave 1/3 of your position. I gave two more targets, 193, 190, 160. You can see both of those targets right here I'm mentioning in the first 5 minutes. And then it was more heavy. Win came in, he wanted to short as well versus the 195, 195 resistance. And after that, by 10 a.m. we had met most of our targets, but 191 area target was still short by cents, right? And then I told everybody, leave runners, roll if in profit. When I mean by roll is, if you are doing an options, right? Let's say 195 puts are 200%. Let's say you made $3,000 on that 195 put, and you take $500 and roll into 190 puts. And use your profit to roll further, because at one point you have to cover your shares. If I was short 1,000 shares, by the time I broke 193, I had only 1/4 position left. It was only like 250 shares left. I'll let them ride as long as the trend is there. But I can also use the profit from my shares to buy further options, right? The profit I made, I buy further options. So that you can roll from shares to options. And guess what? More fades. I did not let anybody buy until the reversal came. 195 puts went 200%, then 190 rolls went 550%, and then 195 puts went 300%. I said if it stays heavy, we are going to see 185. Watch for the fade. Right? So what did we get? So we got almost $12 to $14 short, right? Depending on where your entry was, and we got 300% on the options and 50% on the rolls. And such a profitable trade. There was no long all day long, and there was no reason for anybody to buy. And now we did do an end of day long scalp, and let me tell you how we did that. So this was a huge winner for us today. The whole community was big green on this, and nobody got destroyed buying the dips. Now let me show you how we bought the dips. So let's look at what did we do in the close. So in the close, when market was pushing, right, so we saw this curl over the 512. So you can see here when I said not ready to curl, and 240 is when I said it's curling, right here, and you watch the pullback. So you watch the pullback into this EMAs. So that's your risk, right? You pull back, that's where you add. Your risk should be somewhere under that EMAs on the clouds, and then you trade that, right? So it bounces, you can add a little more, and then you let it work. Remember, as most of you do, 3450 is always the first target, right? And that's when Tesla started to move, pull back, hold, stop should be under 512s. 190 was the target I gave everyone, right? So 188, 30 adds, and we hit 190 target, right? And then you take half off there or more, just leave a little bit, and when it breaks 512, you get out. So I told everybody I closed Tesla, right? Because I don't like it closing under 3450. That was a good scalp, that's fine. We got $1, $1.50, that's fine. But we are not taking it overnight because it's closing bearish. So we made a good decision because it was under 3450. So that was the reason we did not. If we swung it long, by now we would be down $4 per share, and that would be painful, right? So we don't, it's really heavy. Maybe we fade tomorrow more. So Tesla, we will be ready for tomorrow as well, see what it gives us tomorrow. But really, really heavy. So we just need to be, careful when we long it. So there's not a time to long it, right? You see how the 1 hour chart worked out, up, down, and then breakdown. And then, the 200 psychological level breakdown. So there was no reason to long it, and it was a reason to short it with high confidence and good size. So it was good recap, the full guidance on Tesla today. All right, let's talk about SC. So first, let's discuss SC as our long-term swing and investment play. Let's go to our tracker. So we have our investment tracker where we keep track of the investments or the swing trades on SC. So let's go here, swing tracker. All right, here you go. So SC was going to filter in the Excel. So it was our, back when I gave this idea, I will show you the chart on Twitter. Our stops were at 35, entry was 37 or 35. So we've been trading since that, and I've been talking about it. This and CELH were the only big swing and investments this year for us, for me, or for the Tenet. Of course, we're going to do more of those, but just wanted to show you that this was a conviction play. So SC was, let's go back, look at the chart history on SC, right, before that. So if you see that, right, reclaiming the support, I was talking about it in 36, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times the support reclaim. That's how this, when the stock is doing that, becomes a high probability swing from the bottom, right? And now look at what it's doing, right? So it started to curl, continued updates, started to curl, 18% up, started to curl, and that was the one was that was February 4th, right? And then we pushed higher, right? So we're 40% up into the gap, already into the gap and pushing, right? So my plan was to see what I'm going to do into the earnings, and I was not sure about that, and I ended up holding. Maybe I don't know, I would have sold some into the earnings, but I was busy. But anyways, because I was so much profitable already, so I was not worried about it. So anyways, it worked out for us. We opened up really nice in the pre-market on our swing long-term play. You can see my timestamp guidance on the swing long-term play. And I sold 70% on the earning profit. I kept 30%. And then we day traded it. And how did we day trade it in a day trade account? That's what I'm going to show you next. So let's look at what was the plan on SC. The plan on SC was 53.20 was support, 60.50 was resistance pivot. Our long-term play for day trade, 55 is the key. Do not long if 55, 54, 50 breaks. Watch that gap fill under long over. So you clearly that 55, 50 level was key, right? So I clearly told everyone that's the key level that we need to watch. Now let's see how it played out for us. You can clearly see my guidance here. So, okay, so I logged the profits on the long term, 70% logged, confirming the gap fill. Then I told everybody on the voice, it's going into the gap fill, short it. Same play as ADSK we did yesterday, guys. ADSK, same fill, going into the gap, short it, confirming the gap fill. I told everybody to move the stops, break even. The 52 was the first target, 52 target met. Then I said leave 1/3, we can go into 50 psychological level. That's what happens, we go into 50 psychological level, right? So that was the 50 psychological level. Nice gap fill for us, almost $4.5, $5 trade, as per the pre-market guidance, flawless. You can see the straight fade. Beautiful move. Now let's look at how we played the curve. So then, of course, there's a 50 psychological level, and then it starts to curl. It starts to reclaim. When you see this thing happening, when you see this basing, and you also have a high conviction psychological level down under, that's when you trade. You need a conviction. You don't want to chase the dips. You want to see these EMAs come closer and then they create a consolidation reversal box, then that's when you take it long. And you have your stops middle of the range. If you want, you can take long here, because you already know that 3 candles are bouncing, and the third candle green, this is where you can take long, put your stops under 50 bucks, $1 risk, and when you see it pushing over 512 EMA Clouds, you see the Ripster labels are turning green, and that's when you add more, and then you let it work, right? So you let it work, and then you just trade it. And they were asking me about SC. So I told my traders in my community that 55 should be your ideal target there. So what we were targeting was SC. Anthony was on SC for 55 targets. So everybody was waiting for the 55 targets. So even if you entered late, let's say you were at 52 and you risked like maybe you risked $1, you still made like $3 by the time we hit almost close to our 55 target. 512 reclaim, 34.50 reclaim, nice A+ midday reversal setup. So you see how we were long. We made money on the long investment side, then we made money short in the gap fill side, and then we made money on the bounce on the call side, guys. So this is repeatable, high probability set trading, and not random gut feeling trading. You can trade options there, stocks there, does not matter. When there's volatility, there's a range, and you have a clean risk reward, upside and downside. You do it, you trade it. Beautiful move on SC. All right, let's look at some other trades quickly. LI. So what was the play on LI for us today? So let's look at LI. All right, so time to look at LI. So all right, so let's go to the daily plan on LI. So what was the plan on LI? LI launches something in China, so it had a news. News was kind of bullish, but we don't really care. We need to see what the price is doing. And I think there was something out of China as negative as well. Anyways, the support pivot was 40, the resistance pivot was 41.30, right? So it was bearish, already bearish. The support pivot is breaking, right? It's not holding. As soon as I see that break, I tell everybody short it, watch the pops. Here's my timestamped guidance. I was also on the voice. And after that, 9:33 is when I told everyone we can go back, we can look at it 3 minutes, right? See what happened, what's happening there, right? So 9:33 we short it, 39.80, 40. You have to be ready for the trade, right? You have to be there before me. If not, then you have to watch for the bounces, watch for your good entry. Anyways, we were short here, and then it just faded, right? Since I from 40 bucks all the way to 37, 42 bucks, right? My initial target was 38. We broke that. We even met a lower entry. Now some traders chased, they were not ready, and they chased, didn't see the extension. They were trying to chase somewhere here under 38, right? You're not realizing yes, there's a gap on daily, but you have to watch. So they were kind of panicking when it is pushed right here, right? So they're like, what should we do? Bad entry. See, we could hold because we had a good entry, and we can hold until it gets over the 512 clouds. And that's what exactly I told everyone about LI, how to manage LI, that it's still bearish. But if you have a bad entry, you need to manage your risk, because stock, it will do what it has to do. And that's what happened. Boom. I created this bear flag. I was also ready to close my last piece if it got over, but no, it did not. Faded right back under to the low of the day. Beautiful all day short. Focus on your entries. If you miss this fade, wait for the entry closing to 512 EMAs. If you panicked, yes, that was a bullish move, but the labels were still red, the trend was still red, the system was still red. If the only reason you get out is if you have a bad entry and you are just panicking, that's the reason you get out. Otherwise, you don't get out until we reclaim the bullish pivot. So all day fade LI, lot to learn here about your entry. I think if tomorrow stays heavy, LI, we get more fade into the gap fill, still have room towards 36, 35. All right, let's look at SPR. So SPR, what was the plan on SPR this morning? Plan on SPR was simple. Support pivot was 33, 32.50. Resistance pivot was 34. Breakout over 34 for the long, and under 33, 32.50 will be the gap fill, right? So let's see what happens. So SPR tries to break out. I see that's breakout, although the market was weak, and I try to trade this breakout and I buy this dip, but then it doesn't hold this EMA Clouds. I get out right away. I take a quick loss, but after taking that loss, and that's what I told everybody, that watch for the longs, but when it's not working, you get out, you don't think twice, and then you hit it short. So here, so trigger for the breakout was 33. Was this 33, this level 33 is a typo here. So it was this level was the breakout. Let's see, we can have it, see where, what was it here. So the trigger for the breakout was 34, right? So that resistance pivot was basically the breakout. It tried to break out. If you were scalping, you were fine, but when we tried to buy the dip, it failed, right? So I said, there's the dip, remember the risk, this was your risk. It broke down and I said no long. If stays heavy, short it, take a loss, stay heavy, short it, and it will fade in the gap. And we took the loss at 33.40s, and from that it faded all the way to 32.17s, right? So almost $1 fade, and you could easily make your loss back there. And then what happened as SPR was, it curled, because 32 was the level from yesterday right here. I told everybody cover into the 32s. So because 32 was level from yesterday, and it reverses over 32 for a nice reversal trade, 512s, 34.50s, you could do that. But anyways, good execution. Glad I shorted it and covered some of my loss, but that's how the system works. All right, let's look at SMCI. SMCI was all day long. Let's look at the plan on SMCI. What was our plan? The plan. So SMCI was added to S&P. Semiconductors were hard. So SMCI at these levels, I think I had a typo, but I did say something correctly here. Let's look at here. So what I said was bullish to neutral, pullback ideal to long. If breaks 1,010,000, do not long. 1200 calls ideal. So let's see what happens there on SMCI. So SMCI, let's go back and look at the level sheet where proper levels there. So the levels were 1000, of course, 1010, and then there was a support pivot 980, resistance 1070, 1080. So what happens to SMCI? Let's see. Let's go back and see what happens to SMCI. So Win was the main one focused on SMCI. He was trading SMCI. So you look at what's happening here, right? So your risk is 1010, 1020. Or this area is your risk, and the cloud. So this is your risk area. You clearly know that risk is my risk area if I'm buying long. And guess what? It bounced from the clouds, and I was interested in this breakout, this breakout, and this breakout, and that's where you could long it, and you can risk $20 or maybe $25, 100 shares. You can risk, I don't know, your $50. You can risk $1,400, and then you let it work, right? So as Win saw the swipe, the soak means there's a buyer there. He saw the 120 buyer, and he liked that for the trend, and 157 was the pivot. He called out, and then I called out the 1070 breakout, and after that breakout, our next target I gave was 1110. Next, 1100, 1110. Then my final target was 1150. We met more than 1150. We met 1155. So let me show you, right? So even on the Twitter, I usually show the setups, and I don't, I always show that, before and after. For example, when we were breaking out this flag, I mentioned in the community that we are flagging. And then when flags break out, my levels was 1100 target, and then we pushed out of that flag. We pushed $20 to 1120, and then my targets we pushed to 1155, 50s. And you can see that after meeting my targets, it came all the way back. So right, 1150 target met, it came all the way back. So so beautiful trade. If you want to look at the 1200 call that we were trading. So the 1200 call from the open went from 28 bucks to 63 bucks, almost 100%, right? So basically, if you are, if you have $2,800 of invested with probably 1,400 or 1,500 risk, and you made like $3 grand because your one contract doubled up, or you had shares, it was a good trend, and you could see the Ripster cloud holding all day, and when it ends, you get out. All right, let's look at snow. So what was snow? Snow was our day 2 setup, right? What is our day 2 setup? I mean, it was actually a day 3, but you can see it's on the top of my day 2, day 3 setup. I share that list with my community in the morning, and you can see that what did snow do? When it was breaking under, I said it's a day 2 fade. I mentioned at the voice, first thing I mentioned in the morning on the voice, that snow is heavy. It's under the pivot. So it's under the pivots, there's no long there, and it was all heavy, still heavy, and people were like, can we buy here? I said no, you cannot. The first target I gave was 176, and then I said 175. So all my targets met, right? So look at the 176 target I gave. You know, it was even, that was even at 11, and then after that I gave 175 target, and even we met that target, right? So you do not have to buy the dips, guys. That's I keep saying, because nothing is too low. There's no consolidation, lower lows, lower highs. As long as you see lower lows, lower highs, there is no trend, there is no reversal. It's only a short, it's only a bearish. Look at that beautiful Ripster EMA Cloud trend, right? So the fade, even if you were late at 184s, still you got $9 short fade there, and it can really go more before it bounces, guys. It can really hit 170s. So trend tells you when to buy, so you don't have to rush. Look at it, you know, daily is bearish, 1 hour is bearish, and 10-minute is bearish. So beautiful trade, not only a short, but I saved, you know, we saved so many people trying to buy the dips and saving and preserving their capital. That's what I'm proud of. Next one we are going to look at is Apple. So Apple is the same story, guys, as our other shorts. And I said Apple is an A+ short today, and let's look at it. So Apple was, what was the reason, right? The reason was this. So reason on Apple was this 180 was always holding. When 180 gives up, when the support which is tested multiple times gives up, the stock does not hold, right? So it does not hold, and it can fade much more than you think it can fade, right? So that's why, that's how you trade it. That's how you trade it. And I've been mentioning Apple. Let's look at the plan on Apple, or the pivots on there. So Apple was, you know, I said bearish to neutral, do not long under the clouds. The support was 176.63. Resistance pivot was 178.47. Yeah, bearish news. And then it breaks the pivot. As soon as that happens, I tell everyone, no, I already told everyone that no longs. And you just take the short. When the pre-market lows break, you risk high of the day, you just take short, lower lows, lower highs. And I kept telling everybody, do not buy. Look here, still bearish, no long, still bearish, no long. And you know, there's no reason to long, but we did long it. So let's talk about that. Anyways, nice capital preservation, not going long earlier in the morning for the community. A nice trade on the short side. Let's look at the curl now. So my curl is also my repeatable setup. It's my repeatable setup. So once this area was holding, so we added the longs. I told everybody 512's curling versus 173.79, right? It pushed, it pulled back, and it was failing, and I said it's failing 512, but right away I reclaimed. And that's when I said it is confirming. It is confirming the curl, you know. A price alert went in which said it's confirming the curl, and then I told everybody to put the stops at 174.90, and from that curl we pushed from 174, wherever your entry was, 174.20, we pushed all the way to 175.50. You know, good decent move on the option, 30%, and good $1 scalp, right? And the decision I made was that I'm not going to hold it overnight. Closed, you can see here. Reason being, it was closing bearish. I can trade it tomorrow again, but I'm in no mood of swinging it until I see the strength. 1 hour is still bearish, daily is still bearish, so the trend is still bearish, right? So we are buying a bearish system, so we don't want to. So that's the thing. So anyways, so that was the Apple trade, short, and then curl. All right, let's look at our coin and MSTR. You know, what was the plan on coin and MSTR? So coin, the plan was simple. The coin, I said the breakout over 212, the support is 215. MSTR, you trade lotos. I clearly said that. And what did coin do? Breakout over 222, push, pull back. And somebody asked me, can we short it? I said no, it's holding the cloud. So this was a repeatable 34.50 bounce setup, and then it went on to break out again and all day push to the highs. And same thing for MSTR. I said we can trade lotos. If you traded lotos at the open, they paid up well. It went from 12 to 13.40, another 34.50 pullback, and it went again to the to the highs, right? So the guidance was good. I didn't trade them much, but good pre-market notes helped everybody. So there was another stock that was on our watch list, that was AKRO. It was a simple setup. When AKRO was breaking down 34s, I told everybody to gap fill short it. And again, from our pre-market list, I said gap fill short 34 level, right? And it pulled back from 34 all the way to 30. And then I told everybody that it's basing on 30, watch for the curl, and then it curled for a good scalp as well. So you could see the timestamp guidance up and down. And this was part of our pre-market plays. AKRO 34.38, repeatable setup, good opportunity. CELH was day 3. It was all the credit on CELH goes to our community, which were trading it right from the morning. You could see Praxis was on the top of it, D-Trade, Voltage, Hamad, Sean, Lexi. So everybody was, it's not about, our community is not about that I'm telling the trades. Everybody, there's some much better traders than me there as well, and they were trading CELH, and everybody was banking on it. It's a day 3. Everybody knows the day 3 rules. Push over the clouds, push over the daily levels, you stay long, and it's going to 90. All right, let's look at Boeing. So what was my plan on Boeing, and how did Boeing work? So Boeing was in talks to buy SPR. We already talked about it. Support was 199, resistance was 200. The simple plan was short under 200, long over it. And what did it do? Short under 200, you short it on this break or the rejection of the clouds. You take $3-4 and then you wait for the curl. You long it over 198, pushed over 200, nice scalps, right? So just want to recap that. Nice one. Some fellows did good on BA in the community. Let's look at Walmart. So how did Walmart pan out? So Walmart, when stock like Walmart is splitting, the point is, everybody wants to buy it as a long-term investment play. It's cheaper to invest in. So that's what happened to the Walmart. I said bearish to neutral. If 58 holds, look for the B minus bounce. And that's what happens. 58 holds. Right from 58, it pushes. What was my resistance pivot which it gives a long confirmation? 58.60, and pushes over 58.60. That's your long confirmation. You can put your stops at 58.40 and long here, and you trade it long all day. Another winning setup from our watch list game plan. So as you see, guys, there's so many opportunities. There's so much in our community. It's all about your conviction trading setups. Hope you guys learned a lot from today's video. Do not buy dips against the trend. Stay with the trend. Focus on repeatable setups and you will find success. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Join me in the community if you want to learn guidance and education. Take care. Bye-bye.